Las Vegas Raiders just received heartbreaking news from Marcus Epps. He is done for the season with a torn ACL. I'm Mitchell Renz, host of the Raiders Report, and coming up here on today's show, we'll kind of go through the injury to Epps, who's expected to be able to step up in his place. And then at the very end of today's show, I'm going to give my prediction whether or not this Raiders safety is going to be back next season, because he is going to be a free agent. One of the scariest injuries that you ever see in the NFL and sports in general is the non-contact knee injury. And as soon as the injury happened, Epps fell down to the ground in a lot of pain. And I know that this was a very difficult football game to watch from start to finish. And losing a team captain like Marcus Epps, some people are going to look at this video and go, man, this is shocking news. But you know what? I watched that injury happen, and from somebody who has torn their ACL, like I have torn my ACL, I have torn my LCL, I have torn my MCL, I have popped just about everything. When I saw the way that they were testing out Marcus Epps' knee injury, I said it live on the show yesterday that is a ACL injury. And here's the thing. He is 28 years old. He's going to be 29. Anybody who's ever dealt with a major injury, Epps, don't know if you're going to be back with the silver and black or not, but I will wish you the best. That is a team captain. That is somebody that I think does a lot of the hard work behind the scenes where it's not always going to show up in the stat sheet, but Epps was a very well-loved and respected player for the Raiders, and the fact that we're losing him now for the entire season, it just adds to how shitty this Monday really is. So if you're watching today's show, send your well wishes to Marcus Epps. I'm hoping for a speedy recovery, and I would obviously love to have you back here in silver and black. Now, Epps is done for the year with that non-contact ACL injury. It has been confirmed by Tom Pelissero. In fact, Jeremy and I were literally getting ready to make a video around some things that we thought could potentially happen. I did think that Epps was going to end up, unfortunately, missing the rest of the season, though there were some expectations, or some optimism is probably the correct word there, because Epps was able to walk off the field. Just because you're able to walk off a field, that doesn't mean that the ACL isn't popped. When you see somebody pulling on the back of your leg, and that's the way that they were pulling on Epps' leg, that's a trainer telling you that, hey, we're trying to see if that ACL is intact. But for somebody who's going to be a free agent next offseason, for somebody who signed a 2-year deal for $12 million last year, somebody who I thought really did a solid job and was a big reason why this Raiders defense played as well as what it did last season when Antonio Pierce was able to take over. And, you know, a lot of times we talk about years past where the Philadelphia Eagles in 2022, that was a Super Bowl caliber defense. They lose Marcus Epps, somebody who led that team in overall total snaps, and they really fell apart in 2023. It looks like they're back on track now. But this is a big loss for the defense because he is a team captain. He hasn't been playing as well this season compared to last season. I'm not going to sit up here and totally lie, but, you know, the Raiders defense in general hasn't played all that great, especially after that game against Carolina. But when you lose a leader who is a coach on the field, somebody that a lot of people look to, and we have a young safety room, this is going to be a loss for the Raiders. And, you know, you're 1-2 right now. You got to be able to bounce back. You got to be ready to rock and roll next week up against the Cleveland Browns. But take no mistake, losing Marcus Epps is a major gut punch to this Raiders team and a major gut punch to this Raiders defense. Now, I want you to hit that subscribe button if after walking into work today, I mean, I don't know about y'all, when the Raiders lose, I feel sick to my stomach. I feel like I got kicked in the nuts watching that game yesterday. There was nothing good about that game, but life goes on, right? And I think like that's what we got to do here. We got to have that next game mentality, that next day mentality. I know Raider Nation's going to bring it every single day. I know that we have a commitment to excellence to bring here. And even when bad news happens, guess what? I want to be able to share it with y'all. Why? Because I know every day I wake up, y'all are going to have my back, and I hope that y'all know that I have your back as well. So if you're still feeling a little bit sick after that Panthers loss, I want you to subscribe. That way we can all hang out and vent and try to get through this season together. Now with the injury here, with Marcus Epps being done for the entire season, Tre'von Moehrig, he's going to take on a lot more responsibility. Isaiah Pola-Mao now is going to step in and be the other starting safety next to Moehrig. But then you got Chris Smith, Trey Taylor. You're going to end up getting him back after week 4, so you get him back in week 5. He's going to have to step it up as well. But it's not only just the safeties. Epps was somebody that played a little bit closer to the box, and I'll be curious to see if the Silver and Black decide to go out and add anybody else in the secondary, because even though Antonio Pierce did not admit at his press conference on Monday that some of these guys that are pictured on screen were the ones making business decisions. AP said that the entire defense, he thought, played really bad, and, he didn't say certain guys made business decisions, but I'm telling y'all right now, there are certain guys that were on that list, on that screen, that were making business decisions. So what we're going to talk about coming up next here on the show is, will Marcus Epps return in 2025, right? Kind of like what we talked about with Malcolm Kuntz literally just a few days ago. With Epps being a free agent and with this being a potentially new regime, will the Raiders end up bringing Marcus Epps back in 2025? I'm going to tell you after I tell you about our sponsor, Mando. Here's the thing. Watching the Raiders makes me sweat. Whether it's a good game, whether it's a bad game, and even though the Raiders stink, that doesn't mean that you have to stink. Shout out to our sponsor, Mando, where you can control body odor anywhere with Mando. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. So use code CHAT at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. I personally like Mando a lot. Funny enough, right when Mando was first starting to sponsor the Raiders Report Chat Sports, my boss had the Mando deodorant on, and, when you're close to somebody in the elevator, you're like, oh, wow, like, what's that smell? You smell pretty good. Looking at another man and saying, like, hey, you smell good. I don't have any problem with it. I'm very comfortable with myself. But, like, he was kind of taken off guard by it. I'm like, yo, what is that? He's like, yo, it's the new Mando deodorant. So not only are you going to be having a deodorant that keeps you smelling great for 72 hours. It's clinically proven for 72 hours. It's also a full body deodorant. So, like, you can use it on your nutsack. You can use it under your arms. You can use it on your back. For me personally, I sweat a lot on my back. I'm not afraid to tell you guys that. But this is a full body deodorant. So, luckily, I got that discount code to help you get hooked on my favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. So, use code CHAT at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. Mando starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream, tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, kind of like a mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. Shout out to Mando for helping me smell great, even though the Raiders stink. So this is a big loss for the Raiders and Marcus Epps not being a part of this team anymore. But reminder, he's going to be 29 years old in January, and he's going to be looking for that next paycheck, for that next big-time payday. And I'm going to tell you whether or not I think he's going to end up being back. But if you don't know how the Raiders Report works, this is an interactive YouTube show. And I want every single one of y'all to let me know down below a yes or a no. Will Marcus Epps return to the Raiders next season? My answer is no. This will be the final time that you ever see Marcus Epps in a Raiders uniform, which I actually do think breaks my heart because I did really like Epps. I was fired up when the Raiders went out and got him. It was one of the signings that I said, low-key, this is going to be a really good move because not every time do players that light up a stat sheet make a big contribution. Epps was a really important player for that Philadelphia Eagles team, that I know. And the fact that he is going to be 29 years old coming off an ACL injury, it doesn't really involve the injury. To me, the reason why I don't think that he's going to return here to the Las Vegas Raiders, one, is I could see the Raiders potentially having a new defensive coordinator. I do think Patrick Graham's going to get an opportunity to go get another job elsewhere, something to keep an eye on. But then also it's the other safeties that the Raiders have. The Raiders are very confident in their young safeties, and the fact that a young guy like Tre'von Moehrig is also a free agent. If it was up to me, I'm going to make sure that I keep the 25-year-old Tre'von Moehrig, who's, again, younger, free safety, a little bit more important, can cover a little bit better. Yeah, it's going to cost a little bit more money, but Moehrig's the guy that I would rather keep compared to Epps, who, in these first 3 games, again, not playing very well, 43.8 overall grade. The coverage grade, which is a little bit more concerning for me, at the 46.2, which, again, Epps was not really known to be a great cover safety, but in today's day and age in the NFL, you got to be able to do everything really well, and I know that Tre'von Moehrig is going to be able to step up. Moehrig is a really underappreciated safety, and he's going to get a much bigger role, and quite frankly, the Raiders need to give him a bigger role. But then also Isaiah Pola-Mao needs to step up. We've heard him be this hybrid linebacker, safety, slot corner. They can use him in a whole bunch of different ways. A UDFA player, he's going to get an opportunity to shine. but because Isaiah Pola-Mao, but also because of a young player like Trey Taylor, I don't see the Raiders bringing back Marcus Epps now if nobody gives him a contract and nobody gives him an offer out there, and then Epps ends up coming back. It would be a very, very team-friendly deal, but I do think that the NFL knows that Epps is a good player, and I think that the NFL knows that he has been named a team captain, that he's been a snap leader on a Super Bowl defense with the Philadelphia Eagles just a few seasons ago. Epps is a big loss for the Raiders, and I wish that he could have finished this season strong with the silver and black, and unfortunately, I would be shocked, and I mean shocked, if Epps ends up returning to Las Vegas. If you need any more updates here around the silver and black, make sure you give me a follow on IG and on Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365. Tomorrow, Jeremy Chuggs and I, we are going to be live here on the Raiders Report, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific, still venting, still talking about what the Raiders did wrong. We can talk about what the Raiders did right. And if you did not see, Antonio Pierce also did not say who that starting quarterback is going to be this upcoming week against the Cleveland Browns. I did put out a short. It's also on social media. Go check it out. Aiden O'Connell might be the starting quarterback going into week 4.